Shut up and sit down.
88 mile per hour universe, what's up? It's Eric. I'm down here in the 88 mile per hour studios in Florida, a stormy Florida to boot. So if we get a little power flicker or some thunder or something of that nature, it's pretty windy out there. As always, I'm joined by my co-star and my colleague, Hans Stuck, the German Shepherd, who is right about meow today. He's guarding the front door of the studio as he always does. So good dog. Braffer Hund, Hans. Braffer Hund. Anyway, today we are looking at the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR. Now, this is a straight race car they made from 1997, 98. It's kind of debatable when it stopped. There was a different variation that came along, but we'll talk about that as we go. But this was made for the FIA GT Championship in 1997. I think these cars are so cool, as a matter of fact. I have them twice, which is pretty cool. So I have two of these. I think they're neat. They're exactly the same. They're both GTRs. The only difference, as you can see, is the livery color. We got a black and red. We got a blue and red right there. So I'm going to stick with, let's go with this one because it matches the studio nicely in here. Anyway, so as I said, these were made from 1997. Interesting thing about these were from the first day of the drawing of these cars until they were on the racetrack was 128 days. So basically from paper and pencil to on the track at 128 days, which is mind-blowing. Now, with these cars, they had to have, much like NASCAR, if anybody's familiar with that, they had to have a certain amount of, well, NASCAR back in the day, we'll say, had to have a certain amount of road-going cars to justify that this was a road car or a production car or how it was falling into the standards of the FIA GT Championship. Now, they made 26 road cars. 20 of them were coupes. 6 of them were roadsters. They were all left-hand drive except for 2 of them that were made for the Sultan of Brunei. He had a right-hand coupe and a right-hand drive roadster made. So they were all pretty much the same except for those two variations. So they're really interesting. Now, when the car had died off in 1999, when the series ended, they were still obligated to make those 26 cars, 25 cars, 26 cars. There's kind of a weird variance in there. They were still obligated to make those. So they continued to make those through, as we said, Mercedes-Benz, AMG, the Performance and Racing Division, which is what made this car originally as well. Now, this is made entirely of carbon fiber, this car, throughout the whole body, everything like that. Interesting thing about this is, as I said before, the clamshell and many other cars I think is so neat. Now this one, the entire back comes off, so it's really cool. It shows you, look at it, just a nice piece that comes off, one big piece on there. But as I've said before, in other cars we'll see, it shows you the whole suspension, it shows you the whole engine. Not does it show you, but the point is it lets you access it just by leaning in and fixing like that. There's nothing in the way. It's quick access when you're in long races, when you're in Le Mans races, when you're in 24-hour races, or I mean any race, of course, but in that scenario, it just gives so much more access to the car. There's the co-star right there, Hans Stuck. There he is. He's making a quick appearance. Oh, he's laying down. He's there. Can you see him? Where are you, Hans? Get in the show. There you are, Hans. Hans, ladies and gentlemen, jumping in the show. I had to give us a moment. But I think these are cool when they open up the back like this. It's just so incredible, the access you can see to these cars. So now these cars, let's see, when they first had their race, or when they were first developing these cars, it was interesting. What Mercedes did is they actually bought a pre-used McLaren F1 from another series to sort of test before, because that was going to be their rival, and see what kind of lap times they were cutting, to test their ideas before they made this car. So what they did is they took out the BMW V12 that was in the McLaren and they put in the Mercedes V12 because they were going to test on that. They also did all kinds of body modifications on the F1 that they were going to do on this car to see if it worked, to see what it, to see if it worked, to see if it wasn't going to work. So it's really interesting. They took their competitor and basically built this car around what that was. Now, the road car is a little bit different. It's not going to have this sort of added on tail. What I mean by added on is it's if you look, it just looks like it's a, you know, a different piece on here, which obviously it is for a tail, but the factory one is going to have a hoop that's going to go be one continuous piece right throughout here. A little bit of different variances. Most of them are built in silver on the road going cars. There was one that was built in blue, one that was built in black, one that was built in red, I believe, as well, but was repainted back to silver for various reasons. So it's these cars are very well documented, and people very much know what these cars are. Now, this car, when it was built, I think had the Guinness Book of World Record for being, I believe, the most expensive car ever made, which was a production car ever made, which was $1,547,000, $620,154,720. That's how much this car cost to make, US dollars back in the day. Now they're limited editions, obviously, as I've said before. Now, as you can see in these, there's a, let's see if we can see it. There's a massive sill, door sill right here. So one of two things. That's where they would put the limited edition badging on the road cars, so you would know what number car you had. Also, this enormous sill right here is where on the road cars you would have like a cubby of storage, so you could have, you know, put like a snack or in there or a granola bar. That's really about all you're going to fit in there. But the interesting thing is it also makes, when you're driving it, I guess, and also when you're a passenger, it makes for really interesting calisthenics of getting over this door sill in and out to get this car. The steering wheel comes off when you get in, so you kind of have to stick one leg in, stick one leg out, do the hokey pokey, you shake it all about, and then you put the steering wheel in, you drag your leg in, you do that. And then when you're in the cockpit, as you can see, because those sills are so large, the cockpit is so close together. So you're really becoming pretty friendly with your co-drivers in this car. So now the production cars were 0 to 60 was 3.8 seconds. And the top speed was 214 miles an hour. They were a little bit different, obviously, than the race engines. They took a little bit bigger bore. They got a little more power out of them. I don't know the exact details on that, but they got a little bit more power, and they reworked them for the roads. They're a little bit more stable. Now, these have come up for auction lately. I've seen, or not these have. I've seen one or two come up for auction at Barrett Jackson or different things. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they're rare. You don't see them very often, and they're really cool looking. I mean, you can see it with all the badging on here, but I mean, the street cars, if you can imagine, really look cool with just that sleek silver, whatever color it may be, without the badging. Now, when these things debuted in 1997 in the race at the Hockenheim Ring, they didn't do very well. One car bailed out after 5 laps because its brakes were done. The second car finished like 20 laps behind the winning McLaren. The second race, they came in second, just about a second behind the McLaren. They were doing great. By the fourth race, they had wielded a third car, and they ended up beating the McLarens out in the fourth race, 1-2. And then they ended up having 5 more wins that season, which clinched the construction as well as the Drivers' Championship. Now, these cars were so dominant that they were in 22 races over the course of 2 seasons, 97, 98, before they rolled it into the LM or the Le Mans edition, where they said that they did different variances, a little bit different version. But I think as far as the racing heritage, the stats I've seen, they're keeping it kind of as the one car. But it had 22 races and 17 wins. I mean, that is pretty impressive, especially for a new, quote-unquote, new car coming into that division. So it's really amazing. As I said, the engine's mounted right behind the cockpit, 6-liter V12, 600 horsepower. I mean, it's a monster, that's for sure. This thing is a monster. So I mean, I don't know. I think these things are cool. I'm glad I got to share this with you guys. Hopefully these shows we've been showing you have been entertaining. I got a handful of other cars I want to show you guys, but this one I just really wanted to share with you. I was going to kind of hold this back, but this one sits on the desk and looks at me all the time, so I wanted to share it with you. But check out our other shows. We've been getting a lot of good feedback. We're getting some subscribers. Really happy that you guys are getting some feedback and enjoying the shows, and really enjoy talking with you. So thanks so much for doing that. Check out the main show, 88 Miles Per Hour, where Kevin and I drive a handful of cars, chat about it, act like fools, whatever it is. 88-second car spotting, which is when we just sort of spot some cars out and about. It's really kind of cool pieces. And then this studio review. So we have Instagram is 88MPH Baby for the show. My personal one is Eric Noni's Instagram. Check out our sponsors, visualbabble.com, who gives us these shirts and a handful of other things, which is really cool. But check us out. Hans Stuck is taking a nap right now, so he's out. So I'll say goodbye for the both of us. Thanks again for watching. Look forward to showing you another show soon, and we'll see you from the studios. We avoided the storm there. We did the show. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon. Bye. Platz, Hans Stuck, Platz. Braver Hund.